Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Chris.
I'm traveling backwards through time.
We've got Vince.
I'm a miracle, king of the impossible.
And I'm Kia. Hello. Welcome to the show. We are talking today about The Flash. Woo! We're specifically some Flash comics from the early 90s. A run written by Mark Waid, one of the authors we've talked about a lot on the show. He wrote Ruse, which we covered and all really liked. He's also written some great Fantastic Four, some Daredevil, currently writing Archie. Always a real solid writer. Art by Greg LaRocque. And this is a storyline called The Return of Barry Allen from issues 73 through 79 from the early 90s. And I guess before we really jump into it, we kind of need to talk a little bit about all the different Flashes and who they are, so we've got some context for this stuff, right?
Right, some flashbacks.
Oh, good one, Chris. Good job. Here's our flashback one. Flashback number one, the original. Jay Garrick. He was like the the Golden Age Flash, right?
1940s, hung out with OG Batman and OG Superman.
Right, he wore blue jeans and that weird colander with wings on his head.
That was a weird time for DC Comics. They had a weird Flash and a weird Green Lantern who actually carried a lamp.
Yeah, weird stuff.
I mean, that was before they were even called DC Comics. They were called National.
Yeah, and then
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a very timely joke.
No, DC.
Yeah, Marvel used to be called Timely.
Distinguished competition.
Good joke. I'm just explaining your joke for the listeners.
And then pretty much, I think only Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman really survived the 1940s and post-war. Most superhero comics kind of went out of fashion after the mid-40s. And then DC decided to relaunch their superhero line with the Flash again, but a different Flash, Barry Allen, in the late 50s. And so he's the first of the new wave of DC superheroes.
Right. And that's really the issue that's credited with starting the Silver Age. That's like the dividing line. There were superhero comics in the 50s, but I don't know exactly why, but bringing back the Flash as the new character is where people start the Silver Age.
Oh, I'd often heard that the kind of Marvel started the Silver Age with the Fantastic Four and everything, and that really kind of reinvigorated the market. But it does make sense that the Barry Allen would kind of be the beginning as well. I guess it depends on which side you're on.
And then that kicked off revamping a lot of their old 40s heroes, so that's why Green Lantern came out, with the same name but completely revamped power set and look.
Makes sense, yeah.
Right. And we talked about a lot of these characters in our New Frontier episode.
We did. I can barely remember which ones they are because there's just so many Green Lanterns and so many Flashes and all that stuff. But reading this definitely helped me kind of keep a lot of them straight now.
Yeah, this middle one is Barry Allen. He's also the main character on the Flash TV series.
Yeah, and he's going to be the main character, the Flash in the movie and everything as well, right? Even though they're doing different actors and they're not the same continuity.
That's correct,
right.
But actually, because the Flash can hop universes, in the TV show, technically, they could cross over both Barry Allen's from the movie and the TV universe. They've left that open. Go figure.
Well, it's interesting. I was reading that apparently a lot of these old classic Barry Allen stories, from when he first kind of showed up, introduced the idea of the multiverse for the first time in a DC, which is neat. I kind of didn't realize a lot of that stuff came up there, and all these ideas of the time travel and the Speed Force and all that. They're all very interesting things. Makes me think maybe I wish I read more Flash comics.
These books have everything. Just judging off the book that we read, this is the first Flash comic I've ever read, and it's got solo Flash comic, and it's got everything I want in it. It's got time travel. It's got multiple universes. It's got legacy superheroes. It's got kind of a Spider-Man kind of fun-loving but still kind of serious feel to it. I should have been reading Flash comics my whole life, because judging off of this one book we read, it's great. I like it.
Yeah, it is really good.
So just really quickly, and this is all secondhand information. I haven't read these issues, but my understanding is that the Flash, Barry Allen, is inspired by Jay Garrick, who we read about in comics. But then Carmine Infantino, the artist, was like, what if I just draw the Flashes both on the cover? They're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. One of them isn't real in this universe. He's just a comic character. He's like, well, I'm going to do it.
Oh, so that's how sort of Jay Garrick came to be like existing in our universe now?
Right.
Or,
so that's how they created the multiverse. Was they're like, he goes into the universe where this guy exists, and they become pals, and then he gets the cosmic treadmill, which factors into this story.
I love the cosmic treadmill. It looks like a fucking 80s treadmill. Like my mom used to have. You run on it to travel through time. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
And so then it's in the museum for the Flash, because the Flash is like so cool that like people have museums for him, and there's this treadmill on display.
We got to get to this. So we talked about the original Flash. There's Jay Garrick. We've talked about the Silver Age Flash and sort of like the main Flash, Barry Allen. If you remember back in our Teen Titans episode, if you listened to that one, one of the members of the team was Kid Flash, a.k.a. Wally West. Well, when Barry Allen died doing something way back when.
Crisis?
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, because he bookended that entire era of DC Comics. He started the Silver Age and ended with Crisis.
Oh, makes sense. And
that's why Flashes always kick off new universes. They kicked off the New 52. They kicked off whatever the hell they're doing now, Rebirth.
That's neat. Well, Kid Flash, Wally West, who is Barry Allen's nephew, says, okay, I'm going to step up. I'm going to keep his memory alive, and I'm going to be the Flash now. And so this series that we're reading from the, I think it started in the late 80s, but these issues are from the early 90s, is all following Wally West, kind of trying to live up to his uncle's footsteps, doing all that cool stuff. And if you listen to the end of our last issue, I said, okay, this is going to be issues 74 through 79, maybe issue 73, because I wasn't quite sure. Issue number 73 was just like a fun, quick Christmas issue with Jay, the original Flash, and Wally West, and they're having this adventure. But at the very, very end, Barry Allen just kind of shows up at their door. And I guess it's like a bit of a cliffhanger leading into the next run, which confused me. At first, I was like, okay, Return to Barry Allen. This thing is going to be epic. And I'm like, oh, he's just like showing up at the door and he's here. All right, that's kind of neat. And so the first issue there and the main series proper 74 is Barry Allen kind of shocked to be back. He's confused. They're showing him like, oh, things have changed. There's a museum for you, and you're not the only Flash now because I'm the Flash.
And that's what's cool about the Flash, though, is that the Flash, he does have like a museum, and he has a public identity, and like the city loves him. Like, he just comes in, he hangs out, he signs autographs after he stops crime. Like, it's really flippin' cool who the Flash is. Like, he doesn't hide from his persona. This is specifically Wally.
He doesn't have a secret identity or anything. And I guess after Barry Allen died, they put it out there like, hey, everyone knows that Barry Allen was the Flash and now he's dead, right? Am I off on that?
And his villains, the Rogues, they all united pretty quickly, like Captain Cold and them. And so they're all united, and they hate when people mess with, like, the legacy of Barry Allen. Like, it's really weird, but, like, they have this, like, weird begrudging respect for Barry Allen. It's really cool, and it's really weird. And they don't like people messing with the Flash Museum. And I also really like this little touch of, like, I didn't read issue 73. Did he show up in the Flash costume at the end of that issue?
No, he was just, like, in regular street clothes at the very end.
Well, no, he's wearing, he's unmasked, but he's wearing the Flash outfit.
Oh, okay, I was wrong.
And I love the touch that Barry says, well, I just went to the Flash Museum and stole a costume. And that's why I have this Flash costume. Because you ever think whenever heroes come back, like back from the dead, like if Hawkeye comes back from the dead, like how did he come back from the dead, be confused, and still find his costume? And it's like, well, I went to the museum. Like that's what I did. I really like that touch. It's like it's completely dumb and throwaway, but I enjoy it.
So the three Flashes have some adventures together for a little while. Wally West is very like, okay, am I like extra now? Am I not needed? What's going on? Well, like he's kind of feeling insecure.
And Barry views him still as like a kid. Like Wally's like, I've been the Flash for 6 years in real time. Like in our time, like I'd probably a year or two in Flash time. Like, he's lived up to his legacy, but he simultaneously wants Barry to like approve of his like how he's carried the torch, but he's also kind of anxious that like he hasn't, and then like he's worried that like Barry's gonna think of him still as a kid, which Barry kind of does, and Jay Garrick still calls him Junior. Like, he's never really like earned Jay Garrick's respect. So they got this like weird 3 generations of Flash. Like, you got Jay Garrick, the old man, like Barry Allen, the one in his prime, and then like Wally, who's just on the cusp of like taking over. And it's a really crazy dynamic that works really well in this book.
It really does, yeah.
And it's actually I was reading the foreword to Mark Waid's collection that just came out, which is the 12 issues before this, and he was saying that Wally pretty much represented like Mark Waid's voice. Like, Mark Waid, as we discussed last episode, was part of the first generation of comic writers that grew up reading comics, and so like Mark Waid really wanted to like live up to the legacy.
So yeah, like Roy Thomas and these other guys, Denny O'Neil, that
like
are still around. Like, he works for them.
Yeah, and he like wants to do so good by them, but he's also like super anxious that he's not, and he's like tarnishing like the legacy of his favorite superhero growing up, which was the Flash. And that's
a really neat parallel. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically Mark Waid got hired is like, I don't know how you like being. He said I was a bad writer in '85 when I got hired at DC as an editor. So I don't know how you can get hired as an editor but be a bad writer. And he just always would talk about the Flash with the Flash editor until they finally gave him like a few annuals in 1990, and then eventually the book in '92.
Well, good for him. He did a great job with it, I think, or at least the ones we read. Issue 75 is where things start to get a little bit weird. Like, they're having this mini adventure. They go up against some group called the Combine. I don't know what their deal is. They just seem like a bunch of maniacs with guns. But one of them almost kills Wally while they're fighting, and he's like, "Hey, I killed the Flash," or something like that. And he, like, Barry Allen goes crazy on this guy and gets super close to murdering him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the Flash." And that's like a neat cliffhanger there where it's like, okay, this guy's a little unhinged. What's going on with him?
I really like the way that's done. It's both Waid and the art do a really good job, and this whole book does a good job. I mean, it's not like non-linear, but Flash is he's like temporarily deafened by what happened. And
there's a few moments where they're just really good at just hiding the information from the audience for just a second while the characters take it in so they can kind of see the gravity of it, and then it reveals itself. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's like a nice storytelling method. It keeps things from getting too stale and too plotty of like, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. You know, kind of lets you feel it a lot better, which I like.
And you're right, Chris, because like Wally, like he's like, did I hear that right? Like, maybe I misinterpreted the situation. My head had just been hit. He's like, I think this was fucked up, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to rush to judgment too quickly. Everything about this
the next issue...
Yeah, everything about this issue was great, though, because, like, it started with Jay calling Wally to go stop a crime. And, like, I always think, like, well, they're both speedsters. Like, I guess Barry was off, like, trying to figure himself out. But, like, they're both speedsters, so their powers are redundant, but there's this weird thing that the art does where they show this like understanding of like how to work together with saying nothing. And like Jay and Wally work really well together as characters. I haven't seen that kind of like camaraderie in a super team ever in my memory. So it's just like really cool to see. There's just one panel where they just like get together and then immediately split up to go hit things from different sides. It's just really well done in this issue.
So
I also issue... like before we. I know we're moving fast.
That's all right.
I also like in the issue before, when Barry first shows up, Wally is kind of like, "Is this really him?" And he's really kind of nervous about it. And then it's only when Barry goes to the grave of Wally's aunt, I believe.
The relationship is
Barry's dead wife.
Wally is Iris West's nephew, and Barry married Wally's aunt.
Right.
That's how it worked.
Right.
Okay.
So he's his uncle by marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he goes to her grave, and he's like, "Oh, I believe you're really the Flash now, because I was kind of weirded out by the fact that you didn't go to Iris's grave, but now you have."
Yeah. Well, in the next issue,
the best cover ever.
Which one was this? Which
it's the one with the word. It's just all black. It says, "You are about to experience the most tragic day in the life of Wally West."
That is a great cover. I love these hyper. I mean, it's a pretty tragic day for sure.
This book is like treading the same ground. Sometimes it reminds me a lot of Daredevil Born Again, but like way funner.
Well, it does feel like the kind of you're right that it feels like Spider-Man, where anytime something devastating happened to Spider-Man, it'd be like the end of like the cover is like, is this the end for Spider? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It does remind me of that kind of same feeling. Maybe that's just the era of comics that we're reading because they all kind of, anything they can do to get you to pick up an issue, But so at some point they go back and they fight the Control again, and the Control
the Combine.
The Combine. I'm sorry.
Combine. I was gonna say. The NFL Combine, they're making everyone take the Wonderlick test.
It's such a weird name, and I still don't know what their deal is, but they're still fighting, and they get trapped inside some bubble. Barry and Wally get trapped inside a big bubble that's shrinking in on them, and it's tuned to their speed, so they can't escape out. They can't vibrate out of it.
Also, Barry is the only one who Barry's a much more powerful Flash than Wally, so Barry can vibrate through walls, and Wally has never been able to do that, which is a really interesting handicap for a character. I really like. I know I have the power to fucking do this, but I don't.
Well, it's also part of what they did with superheroes where, in the Golden Age, they were all a little too powerful. And, little by little, let's start making these guys less powerful because it lets us tell more interesting stories about them, right?
Yeah, it's just, but it's built into his character so well. I don't understand, there's all of Wally's failings are built into his character, like his power failings. Yeah. It's really cool.
It just makes sense for him.
But then he's like, help jumpstart me, Barry. And this is a great scene. How
it's really great. It takes a while for them to kind of do all this weird vibration stuff to get the bubble to attune to a different speed so that they can then break out of it. And it doesn't make sense when I try to explain it out loud, but it made sense as I was reading it, and it just did. You're right. It worked very well
because it established that tension of there's something fucked up with Barry, but maybe but you're also he'll help Wally. But he may not be trusted, and so it does this really good tension with the art and over several pages, I believe.
It takes a little while, but it's great. And so finally, Barry gets out, and Wally only has a hand through this bubble, and Barry goes to help Wally out, and he doesn't, and he just leaves him there to die. But Wally is strong enough, and he's still kind of jump-started by Barry, so he does the whole vibration thing and pushes himself through. Good for him. It's one of those good, oh, wow, cool triumph, a character growth moment,
Mm-hmm.
And he gets home to see a press conference where Barry Allen is telling the world that Wally West is dead. And he's just what the fuck happened? This guy's my hero. And the next issue, he is a wreck. And I guess between these two issues at some point, there's a Green Lantern tie-in where Barry Allen has just lost it. He's just evil now, and he doesn't give a shit. He's just going around beating people up, and he's fighting Green Lantern, and everyone knows okay, something's going on with the Flash.
And it was Hal Jordan Green Lantern. We were questioning whether or not it was going to be.
Yeah. So before he goes insane and kills everyone. It's a year away.
Oh yeah. Boy. 90s comics,
guys. Yeah, everyone went insane. So while Wally West is kind of depressed, hasn't shaved, he's at home just watching the news, trying to figure out what the heck he wants to do because his whole life has been about living up to his hero, who is now this guy. But in the last few issues, Jay Garrick, original Flash, has been going around getting some old-timey friends together, some former superheroes, and now they're all ready.
What did we figure out their names were again?
There's
Johnny Quick.
Happy Nimble? Johnny Quick. No, yeah. And Max...
I don't know. I like these guys. I think we just... Did we also look and find out that they're original to this book?
Max Mercury is.
Yeah, the other one I think had been around for a while. It's probably some nobody.
Johnny Quick dates back to the 40s.
I love
Max Mercury.
I love the old timers coming in to start some. The old timers also getting their gang back together. It makes me very happy.
I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't want to pick on the artist too much. I think he does an okay job, but I wish he did a better job of showing that, like, when Max Mercury and Johnny Quick are in costume, that they're like 60-year-old men.
Yeah, they do look very fit and like normal. You're right.
Yeah, like just do a little bit of a better job to like make them look like they're a little just like, you know, make Johnny's hair white or something, so we're like, oh, he's old
and not like ripped.
Yes, and make him less ripped.
That I will say that's my only complaint about the art. I really like a lot of the very expressive faces and everything. Just sometimes people look a little too samey in general, and that's kind of
there's always one page where like Mark Waid lets him have his cheesecake. Like,
oh yeah,
like the scene where Wally's girlfriend is like cooking dinner or something, and she's wearing the skimpy. Yeah,
he's like tickling his girlfriend. It's really weird.
That one, and he runs through like some like bikini babes at some point for no reason either.
Yeah, because they're running over the lake. Yeah, and there's just like babes on the lake, and so they just like give them their ball back. It's like, okay.
I gotta draw the girls for one episode, well, one page at least.
Oh man.
His anatomy is kind of weird. Like I said, the art is good. I don't want to pick on it, but his anatomy.
Yeah, I really don't. It is really good.
When people are getting punched, sometimes you're like, wait a minute. You might want to look at your little wooden figurine again to make sure that humans have the right amount of ribs and everything.
So, anyways, they're fighting. Jay and the old timers are fighting Crazy Flash, and they're not doing well because they're old and Barry Allen is good. And so they get beaten pretty handily. This is all happening while, Wally decides he's going to go try and uncover what's going on with Barry Allen. He goes to the alley where Barry Allen like appeared, and Barry was like, I don't remember anything. But he starts doing some digging, and there's a book there that has the Flash logo on it, which is a little obvious. And
a book being read by a huge nerd.
A giant. Is he? I thought he was a homeless man. Is he a nerdy homeless man who just found this book? No,
he's a nerd. He's got big white socks with his loafers. He's got like a big green shirt with, I don't even know what those are. Like, I guess a floral print shirt is what that's supposed to be. He's not.
I don't know about this dude. Okay, I guess you're right.
A goofy looking dude.
Yeah, he Wally has to pay him $20 to get this book from him, and he's like, oh. I don't know. Oh my God! I know Barry's secret now, and so he goes to confront him. He goes to confront him, and the fight is over, and Jay might be dead at this point, and they're like, "Oh no!" And so
he smushed up his helmet at the end of that issue too. So you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Shit! But then Jay's like, kind of fine. Next episode.
Yeah, he's like, they explain it away some weird way, like, oh no, he helped me and I'm good. Like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Max Mercury like saved him out of falling or something, so that he only broke his leg. He didn't die.
Was this the issue where Max was jumping through like the rafters and stuff, or like the steel beams of the? Yeah, that was cool. I was like,
that was cool.
Yeah.
So the next issue is kind of like the training montage a little bit, where they're talking to Wally, like, hey, if you want to be as good as Barry, you have to find your zen and everything. They're all trying to give their own bit of old timer advice as to how to get better. And,
I love this.
He kind of takes it all in. It's a great scene. It's just like really nice.
Again, this is that like perfect like 3 generations thing where you've got the old timer trying to teach the young guy, and then the dude who's like clearly in his prime that they're having to try to take down. Like, it works really well. Like, Jay is disappointed that like, his protege Barry is like fucked up, and they're like, but we gotta take him down. And I just love I love the generational aspect of Flash. Like, it makes me really want to read more Flash. It's really cool.
But by this point, I guess it's a spoiler, but by this point, Wally knows that it's not Barry.
Not Barry at all. No,
and that's what's cool too,
the...
because like the book, like at the end of the last issue, Wally found out. Then Wally told everybody what the deal was, but still didn't tell the reader.
Still don't know. Yeah, we still don't know. And so while Jay and the old timers are keeping Barry Allen busy for a little while,
it's good too, because I'm sure like Flash fans, because when I read stuff like this as an adult, I see it coming a mile away. But if I was reading this for the first time, I'd be like, who could it be?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know who it was going to
be. I also didn't know. I just knew it was probably not him for sure. But now it's like, okay, this is a cool villain. We're revealed at the end that this is one of the Flash's worst, meanest villains. Probably his like main villain, Professor Zoom, aka the Reverse Flash, aka hold on, this guy's name is so stupid. Eobard Thawne.
Hey, that's a common name in the 25th century.
Yeah.
Eobard? Yeah, that's right. He's from the future.
Ethan Frome.
Yeah, this guy. Oh, so this is like the next issue, the last issue, number 79, is like the big final fight sequence and the explanation of what all happened. So let's do our best to recap exactly how Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash,
well, okay, so
became Barry Allen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So Professor Zoom history also. Professor Zoom was killed by Barry Allen because he's the worst villain the Flash has ever faced. So this is actually a younger version of that hero, which again, time paradoxes. I love this stuff. We're fighting a version that's already been defeated, but he'll be defeated later in his life. I love it.
Yeah.
So he's
this guy from the future, and he's like a super fan of Barry Allen, and he's like, I'm going to be just like him. Mm-hmm. And he spends all his money on memorabilia. He finds the
treadmill,
the time machine thing, the treadmill. That's
he spends all of his money trying to get electrocuted in just the same way that the Flash was, so that he can get his superpowers.
Hey, and it worked because he did get him. So yes. That's cool.
And so he time traveled back, but he messed up because, and this is a touch that I really love, is like 500 years in the future, facts get kind of fucked up and they don't know everything.
They don't know everything.
Like, cause we don't really know everything about like Shakespeare's time. So like, it makes sense to think that in 500 years from now, they wouldn't know every agonizing detail about the Flash from 1993. So he
did have a book and a biography about him that he read and he really liked, and he brought that with him, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so, but he knows he overshot it, but then he's very confused. Like he thinks like, oh, maybe I am Barry Allen. Like he's very confused in that regard.
Yeah, he goes to the Flash Museum where he gets the costume and kind of sees everything, and then he sees who the Flash's greatest villain is, and he sees himself, and he goes, "What? I'm gonna become the Flash's greatest villain? What?" And that kind of like makes him go a little bit crazy, and he decides, no, that can't be right. That must mean I am Barry Allen. And so he kind of tricks himself into thinking he's Barry Allen. And so that is how he came to be, which is neat. It's a fun story. My biggest question is, and maybe they explained this and I missed it, how did he come to look like Barry Allen?
I don't know.
Didn't they mention that he like genetically altered himself?
I was thinking that. I don't know if I just skimmed past that, but it seemed like, well, he had a lot of money. He probably just tried to make himself look like Barry Allen.
Oh, but then later he kind of looks not like Barry Allen. He looks like a different guy,
but
right?
But Wally West like him, and that's when he suddenly turned into a yellow costume to become Reverse Flash. So I think once he was found out, he like swooped him to like, I don't know. This is comic book logic. I did wonder that too.
It bothered me. It bothered me a little, so I had to mention it. But yeah, fun. They beat him in the craziest way. They're fighting, and they have the time machine there, the treadmill, and Wally says, "Hey, I'm gonna go run to your time and fuck shit up for you." And so he runs to the treadmill and disappears. And Professor Zoom says, "Oh no, you don't! I'm coming after you." And he goes to the treadmill also. And then
that's not really how it happens, though. What happens is that Zoom beats the shit out of him for a while.
Oh, true. There's a lot of beating the shit out of him.
And they wreck the Flash Museum.
And then Flash kind of realizes that what his buddy Mercury was telling him about, like, you're not willing to let yourself be as good as Barry Allen. Like, you need to kind of let go of that part of yourself that's holding back. Mm-hmm. And just be as good as Barry is. Like, you have all the skills he has. The only thing that's holding you back is you. And he's just like, he's right. I'm just as good. And then he just starts beating the crap out of Zoom. And he's like, I love the facial expression of Zoom when he catches up to him as he's running away, and he like looks over his shoulder like, oh shit.
Yeah, instantly everything turns, and he's just like, oh, I'm beat. But yeah, then he tricks him into going back to the future. Well, first he's going to destroy the treadmill, and Wally says, well, no, that'll create a time paradox because you use that treadmill to travel back here, and now you won't be able to if you destroy it. And so he doesn't destroy it, and Wally runs to the treadmill, then quickly kind of like jumps off without him seeing and hides so that he thinks he's gone into the future, but he hasn't. And so he goes, I kind of would think that a time-traveling treadmill would make a bigger show of like, hey, I've sent someone into the future. You know what I mean? Like, you know when that thing worked, right? But anyways, Professor Zoom falls for it, and he goes into the future. And they couldn't kill him.
Or does he go into the future? Spoiler alert for the end of this.
Oh, no. Wait, what happened at the end of this?
Reverse Flash is... He was traveling backwards through time. He lands back in like the 70s.
Oh, is that what it is? It kind of looked like he was in the future. I didn't realize.
Well, that was just him. That was Wally guessing what will happen.
Oh,
that part gets retconned, and they say that Zoom just got moved backwards further into the past.
Oh, weird. Okay, that's kind of neat. That makes a little bit more sense because how would he come back again, you know? Their whole plan was like, we have to make him lose his memory and send him back to the future so that things can continue along the normal historical path. And so I'm like, well, how do you know he lost his memory? I'm like, he probably did. It's cool. Like, okay, cool. I guess we're happy now.
I mean, he almost lost his memory the first time when he got here.
That's true. So this probably did it for sure. So yeah, it's a little wonky, but I'm also okay with it. It makes sense. Plus, the rest of the thing is just so good that I'm like, whatever. I'm cool with it. So yeah, that's kind of the whole thing there. I gotta say, overall, I thought I didn't know what to expect when I was coming in to read this. I thought we were really seeing the return of Barry Allen, and the more I read it, I was like, oh no, this is not what we're getting at all. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised as, you know, what it ended up being. Just kind of like a fun story with a crazy villain and you know, just a character kind of coming into their own, coming into the mantle a little bit. It was really nice. Like you were mentioning, Vince, the whole generational aspect was really cool and really well done in a way that you couldn't really do with a lot of other superhero characters at all.
Right.
With Marvel, it's basically just Captain America is the only one you could do that with.
Yeah, there's a lot of Captain Americas. I guess that is it. And even then, it's never like somebody's retiring completely. Like in this, you did get that sense that Jay Garrick, the original Flash, like he's not the Flash anymore. He's just helping out sometimes when he wants to for fun because he's one of these old guys. Like, yeah, I like being the Flash. Why not? But he knows he's just not a full-time superhero anymore. You know, I like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I don't want to get on my soapbox too hard, but it emphasizes to me that it's possible to do generations of characters in a way that still works. Like I love, and it's dated now, but Spider-Girl for that same reason that like Peter Parker is a character, he has superpowers, but at the same time he was permanently injured and he's like, Mary Jane made him retire. And so, like, he would still sometimes suit up, but when he did, you'd be like, "Oh shit, that's Spider-Man!"
And that Batman Beyond did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
Every time Bruce Wayne like started interfering and like actually like maybe getting into that robot Batman suit, you're like, "Oh fuck, it's on!" Like, and the idea of like just like Bruce Wayne just like always criticizing Batman Beyond, being like, "I wouldn't have done it that way," is a really cool like, it's a really cool like dynamic that you can build in. And it also,
I mean, I understand why they don't do it because every Marvel character is from like 1963 or whatever, so they'd all be like 70 some years old now. But it'd be nice if you could have characters that were like 50 years old and like feisty, you know, characters that aren't, you know, 25 forever.
And that's what
I mean, they've been getting into that more and more with Hawkeye and now the new Ironheart and like all these other characters. They've been doing a good job of bringing in a new generation and like Hulk and everything. So they're getting there.
But
I think it's just kind of taking
the
them a
teen
little
heroes, you know, like either your Power Pack or your Runaways or your Young Avengers or your Avengers Initiative, like they never get the opportunity to actually like age into like being with the big dogs, because the big dogs are still there, like in the way that like all the Teen Titans became heroes. You know,
it's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially like we did a long time ago that Avengers run with Justice and Firestar, who were new warriors. So like they got to be on the Avengers for like 2 minutes, and now they're not. And Captain America,
completely forgotten.
and everybody else, and Thor and Iron Man, they're still Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of happened with DC, but it was really nice to like read that like '90s JLA and be like, there's always like, I don't trust this new Kyle Rayner Green Lantern guy. Like, you know, like that kind of like sparring, you know, is really good to always have like somebody that you know and you know their power set, but they're new to the game to like bounce off of. It was really it's nice that DC can do it, and I wish that more superhero books could kind of like play with this. Plus, it makes really cool annuals. I'm reading Mark Waid's first reprinted volume that just came out a few months ago, and the first like Flash book he worked on was like an annual where the same villain aged and fought Jay Garrick, then went to prison, then got out of prison and fought Barry Allen, went back to prison, and then as a super old man fought Wally West. And he was like
That's funny.
And so like you got to see him like fight like all three Flash generations. It was really cool, you know. And it's like I guess Starman did similar things where it like played with the generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DC's always been really good at that kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe I do need to read more DC. I might have to read this whole Flash run because, like we're all saying, this is.
I've
really
been reading this Waid volume. If his annuals are all right, but it starts with issue 62, and it's first a Flash Year 1 book. So the first 4 issues are Wally West's Year 1, which is really actually a good like beginner for the return of Barry Allen that happens a year later in the comics, because like. It's all about like Wally West's like childhood hero worship of Barry Allen and finding out that his aunt, his really cool aunt Iris, is dating
very good.
Barry Allen, and then him getting his powers and then Barry training him to be Kid Flash. Like and so then like you see 4 issues of that, the relationship of him and Barry, which then makes like 8 issues later when the return of Barry Allen hit like that much more impactful.
Yeah, and you really did get a sense of that gravity of the situation. Like, oh my God, like this is like shocking him to his core. Like that his childhood hero is doing all this stuff, and like he really takes it out on Professor Zoom at the end.
But even like the early, even like the first issue, it's like it's like I really don't want to tell Barry that like I have a public identity, and we told everybody that Barry Allen was the Flash. Like, you know, I don't know how Barry's gonna take it. And Barry's like, it's cool. You're doing you're your own man. And like Barry was like so cool in that first issue that like Wally like was like kind of instantly relieved like of all the things that, like he was worried about the bad choices. Wally's got real bad imposter syndrome, guys. But like
I mean it makes sense.
Yeah.
It does.
It's a great book though. I'm going to read all of this run. Like this is a hearty recommendation. I might say this is the best book that we've read on this episode, on this whole show of stuff that I haven't read.
Is this the first one? Chris, you hadn't read this before either, had you?
I have not.
So this is the first time that we had never read something.
I mean, I don't think we'd read Not Brent Eck, but I also enjoyed it. But
definitely did not enjoy that. Yeah. But this is the first time we've all enjoyed something that we had never read before. So that's cool. A nice milestone, I guess. Good stuff. Anything else?
I'm definitely not as high on it as Vince is. It's good, but
you also read a lot of stuff from DC around this era, right?
I read a fair amount. I mostly read Batman around this era, and mostly like Robin and Nightwing and that stuff during Nightfall. But I mean, it's good. I'm still not a fan of DC, and the art is okay, and I think it's on the verge of. Like, if it got a little worse, like a little more cheesecakey or the 90s-y, it would start getting bad.
It's not quite that. It felt very 80s to me. Like, we were talking before we started recording, like, oh, this was an early 90s comic. Like, for some reason, I thought it was from the late 80s. And I don't know why. It just has a kind of 80s feel to it. More so than, like, the kind of weird big guns and muscles stuff that the 90s had going on.
That's what Waid writes in his foreword. He goes like, I write comics with like a 1950s sensibility, and I mean, I like the 80s and 90s comics. I just don't have it in me to write them, so I don't know how I got away with writing it. Is what he says. He's like, I mean, it's got kind of like a 60s Batman like TV show feel to it. It's it's all like super bright colors. Like everybody loves Batman. Like it's if you like 60s Batman, like mildly unironically, like this Flash is good. Maybe that's a bad endorsement.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I agree with that. But.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that.
I like the colorful villains. Like all the villains are kind of dumb. All the people he teams up with are kind of dumb. Like
I guess maybe if from what you're reading, but that's not really the case in what we've seen in this. Yeah. This run was just like guys with guns and like a criminal syndicate.
Oh, they did both have superheroes though, both Batman and that's the only comparison I can think of. Yeah. Sorry, Vince.
I want to see more Captain Cold in this run. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, we didn't get any Captain Cold. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I'll have to read some Captain Cold because he seems pretty cool.
Read the Brubaker and Darwin Cook Catwoman, where they go to Central City and go meet the Rogues.
I think I have read that.
That one's a pretty good book.
That stuff. All right. Well, I feel like we're kind of done on the topic of the Flash. Anything else anyone wants to say?
Love it.
No, I guess it's love it. Cool. So next time we are going to be reading one of the more recent classics on the list, a iteration of Wolverine that you may have heard of called Old Man Logan. This took place in issues 66 through 72 from I think 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, and they finished up in a giant size Wolverine Old Man Logan special or something like that. It's an alternate universe where Wolverine is just an old man and all his friends are dead, and yeah, good stuff. Written by Mark Millar, art by Steve McNiven. You may remember him. Civil War, which Chris's favorite comic of all time. Yeah. I'll say that I actually have not read this sort of original. It wasn't really a miniseries. I think of it as a miniseries because it kind of spun off into so many other crazy things. And the Old Man Logan series right now, written by Jeff Lemire, is really good. So I'm curious to go back and kind of see how Mark Millar, whatever, however you say his name, how he started this thing. So yeah. Join us for that.
I don't know how much overlap it's going to have with the movie. I don't think the Hillbilly Hulks and the Blind Hawkeye are going to be in it.
Well, here's the thing. We thought maybe like, okay, the movie is being called Logan. It's about an older man. Okay, are they doing Old Man Logan? It seems that they are very clearly not. If the latest trailer isn't any indication, they're doing X-23, the female Wolverine clone, Laura Kinney, who is now the current Wolverine in the comics. Pretty neat. I'm looking forward to the movie. We'll probably do some X-23 stuff when that's coming out. But yeah, for right now, just Old Man Logan, just a fun Wolverine story, modern classic. So yeah, join us for that. Until then, for Vince and Chris and there's is somebody time traveling? Did somebody get on their treadmill?
Fucked up. Yeah, we stepped on that treadmill again. Sorry.
Yep. I'll see you guys in the past.
I'll see you guys.
I've got to unruin 2016. See ya.
Oh God! Thank goodness. All right, hurry up! Go! Oh, all right. We're out of here. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. We love you. Bye.
Extraordinary intergalactical upsets. Only Dr. Hans Zarkov, formerly at NASA, has provided any explanation. This morning's unprecedented solar eclipse is no cause for alarm.